In this video, I'm going to tell you why you are Joe Rogan and you can have a Joe Rogan podcast. Let's go! All right, so this will be a quick one. A lot of the people that I know look at Joe Rogan and they're all trying to basically make their version of the Joe Rogan podcast and go out there and they get all the mics, they get all the stuff, they get all the equipment, and they're like, I've got all this information or I've got this interest and this is going to help me become really big and I'm going to have a big podcast because no one's talking about this way and I'm going to become really well known and famous, and there's this huge desire, whether you like it or not, you have this desire to become famous. Let me tell you why that is a massive mistake when coming out with a podcast and why you can actually be a Joe Rogan, okay? So if you look at a lot of these people that have massive podcasts or, just massive podcasts or video, whatever, they have one secret ingredient, and that secret ingredient is that they are obsessed or obsessively curious with multiple subject matter. Now, that might not be you, and that's why you need to find out what you're obsessed with and then make your podcast about that. What is the thing that you cannot stop talking about? What is the thing that you cannot stop thinking about? What is the thing that when people go, oh yeah, is that Mike? Mike loves X. Make a podcast about that, and who cares how big it is, because you will be fulfilled. Joe Rogan loves martial arts. Joe Rogan loves comedy. Joe Rogan loves science and interesting information and interesting people. If no one listened to it, he would probably still be having his podcast. He started when it wasn't even a thing. No one knew what it was. He borrowed it from Tom Green. Now, if you look at the other people that have large podcasts, what do you notice? They're obsessed with something, or they've acquired an incredible amount of information and now they're sharing it. So what is your secret to scaling and creating a massive podcast? You actually care about the thing that you're talking about, and then as a result, you're either going to find really interesting people or people are just going to capture that energy. So what I'm doing right now, it may never become big, but I need someone to talk to. I love to talk and I love people and I love helping people think about things differently. So be obsessed. Now, there is something else that I think is like the secret sauce to why the Joe Rogan podcast is so big. And one of those things, or the thing why I think it is because he hangs out with his friends and he found interesting people to him. It wasn't like the people that he was having on his podcast early on were like big podcasters. Think about it. Now, when people say, do you want to learn how to make a big podcast? Write a list of the 100 people that your Dream 100. And so you put this Dream 100 and everyone puts Joe Rogan on their Dream 100 and all these other people. But guess what? All you're trying to do is become famous and use them for clout so that you can become a bigger name. Do you really want that? Is that how you really want to be? No. Come on. There are people in your neighborhood, there are people in your city that are incredibly fascinating, and they don't have any followers on Instagram, and they don't have anything, but they're incredible, fascinating people who have done incredible, fascinating things. And guess what? You can interview them. You can meet with them. They don't have a PR firm. They don't have an agent, a booking agent that goes out. You can just meet them. And you'll have fantastic conversations, and you're not going to feel any kind of pressure of, oh, I got to make sure I ask the best questions ever for this, whatever. You're just going to have a fun conversation. 2, you got to have friends. Like, do you notice that those are just his friends? Like a lot of the other comedians, they're just his friends. Like, most of us don't even know how to have friends. I mean, my whole YouTube channel is called Justice Marimi Has No Friends, right? Because I noticed that so many people out there don't have friends, and it's an epidemic right now. So go get your friends and just talk. Go get your friends that are also obsessed with the same thing you're obsessed with and just talk. Do you guys love cars? Talk about it. Do you guys love, sports cards? Talk about it. Do you guys love a Division III football team that nobody talks about? Go do a podcast on that. You will be shocked at how many people will just listen to you because you are interested and obsessed and finding all this interesting information, or just because you're having fun. And guys, that's what these are about. That's what all of this is about. The podcast, all of these. If they're not fun, why are we doing it? It's not like we get paid to do it. It's not like many of you are famous enough to start a podcast and have 100,000 views the next day. Most of you are like me, like a dad or a mom, and you got kids, but you just want to get your voice out there. That's what makes YouTube so amazing. Get your voice out there. Who cares who sees it? You got it out there. And you have something to look back on that your kids can go watch and go, what was dad like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago? What was he talking about? It was this right here. And so I want to encourage you guys, if you guys want to have a massive podcast, be obsessed. If you want to be the next Joe Rogan, get your friends that nobody knows and that are obsessed about something you're obsessed or doing the same thing as you, and just talk shop. All right. Hope this was helpful. Have a good one.
Justice Marini.